Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Thank you so much for being here. Today I plan to finish another fantasy series that I have started last year in 2024, and that fantasy series is none other than Emily Wilde. I have read the first book in the series, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Faeries, last year in the summer, I want to say. So more than half a year has passed since I went to the world of the fairies from Emily Wilde. I'm very excited to continue reading this series with the second and third books. The third one just came out in February, so I am very excited to get back to this world and to spend some more time with these characters. We'll see how much I remember from the first one, but that's a problem for future me. Before we actually start with the reading vlog, I do want to mention that this is going to be spoiler free, so you can watch this even though you have not yet read this series. I will try to keep it as vague as possible so that I don't spoil anyone. Okay, with that out of the way, let me actually tell you what this series is mainly about. So in the first book, we are following our main character, Emily Wilde, obviously, as she's trying to write the first ever encyclopedia of fairies, which is the name of the book. In order for her to write this encyclopedia, she has to travel to a northern island to document a specific type of fairies. The problem, though, is that Emily Wilde is very socially awkward, and even though that makes for a great reading experience because it is just so funny what is happening unbeknownst to her, she has a tough time with getting accustomed with these people in this town, and also the town people have a problem with Emily because they don't like her at all. Basically, on this journey, Emily is also joined by Wendell Bumblebee, who is her academic rival. This is fantasy code for they secretly love each other. This book is so enjoyable mainly because of its setting and of its characters. Wendell and Emily are presented in complete juxtaposition to one another. Emily is very socially awkward, and she doesn't know how to react in most situations that involve other people, whereas Wendell, he's very well loved by everyone. So Wendell kind of helps Emily get more and more accustomed and used with the people from this town. And also, by the end of the book, the people of the town start to warm up to Emily. Everything is written from Emily's point of view. Well, most of the things are written from Emily's point of view, but the book itself is somewhat Emily's journal. So she makes just different journal entries throughout the book. We don't have any chapters or stuff like that. It's just like the date and the things that they do in that day. And I think that adds a lot to the story because it's written in this very like pretentious and academic way that makes a lot of sense for Emily. So this is the first book, and then the book that I have to continue this series with is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. In this one, they have to find a door to faerie. I'm not exactly sure why yet, but I think I'm gonna find out by reading this book. So without any further ado, let's go outside, let's enjoy a cup of coffee, and let's start reading Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. Hello again. It is a couple of days later. I have finished Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, and I wanted to give you a bit of an overview of this one so that I can go ahead and finish the last one as well. So, when it comes to Map of the Otherlands, my main issue or like my main critique would be that it follows a lot of the plot devices that the first one is using. For example, in the first one, the main thing is that Wendell and Emily are going to this remote island to study the Fae there. Well, in this one, it's not an island, but they have to go somewhere in the Alps to find a door to faerie. And again, we have a small town and the villagers don't really get along with Wendell and Emily, but by the end of the book, they kind of warm up to them. Throughout the book, while reading this one, I had a certain feeling of deja vu, but I couldn't quite pinpoint what was it until the very end when everything kind of came together and I was like, oh, this is very reminiscent of the first book. So I do hope that in the third book, we are going to move past that. Because of how this book ended, I do have a feeling that we will spend more time in faerie in the third one. So that could be an advantage to, break the mold a little bit. Other than that, I did really like the setting. I did really like the relationship between the main characters and the fact that now they get to spend even more time together and we get to see them interact even more than in the first one. I did also like the addition of the other characters that we have in the book. We have someone that is part of Emily's family that joins them in this expedition while searching for the fairy door. We also have someone from Cambridge that joins along, and I do believe that the addition of these characters added a lot of tension to the plot, which I think worked really well in this setting for this book. I did wish that we could have spent more time in faerie in this book because in the first one, we spent a bit of time in faerie, and I think it really helped the plot. In this one, we don't spend that much time in faerie, but I'm in the same time not mad at it because everything concluded very well by the end of the book. These would be my thoughts on Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. I want to go brew another cup of coffee and then I want to start reading the third book in this series, which I have right here. This is Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. I am very excited for this book because it's a new release, but also because with a title like Compendium of Lost Tales, I'm really picturing Emily going through faerie and just like collecting all of these stories for her compendium. I'm very excited for this one. On the cover, we have the famous trees that have eyes, which we got a bit of background about in the second book, in Map of the Otherlands. What else? We have Orga here on the cover, which is Wendell's cat. We also have some bees. I don't really know if we talked about bees in this series before, so I'm excited to see what's up with that. We have a slug on the back of the book, and also something that has to do with sewing, like a sewing kit. We have a pin cushion and some pins and threads here. I'm excited to read this book and finish this series. My only hope is that we would break the mold a little bit when it comes to how they are going to solve their main quest and also to spend more time in faerie, which I think is doable. But we'll see how this goes. Hello again. It is 2 days later, I want to say. I have finished Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales, and with this book, I have officially finished the Emily Wilde series. I am so happy with this final book. It just gave me everything that I wanted from the series. You know how I said about the second book that the plot structure is very similar to the first one? Well, in this book, we don't have that. This is completely new and it feels very fresh for the series to have the plot and the action structured in the way that they are in this book. So, without giving any spoilers, we are spending the majority of the time in Faerie, which I am very happy with. This is what I wanted from the first and the second one. Even though with those books we spent some time in Faerie, we didn't spend a lot of time, and that's what I truly wanted, to see all of the machinations in the fairy court and the environment and the relationships between the fairies and stuff like that. And this book gave me that, and I am very happy with it. This book shocked me in like a very good way because I didn't expect for the plot to go where it went with one of the characters. When the bumblebee. Notoriously, cozy fantasy books don't have a lot of stakes, but this book changed that and it took me by surprise, as I said. In this book, we are not only visiting, but we are staying in the place where the trees have eyes. If you read the second book, you know what I'm talking about. The atmosphere and the setting. We got to learn more about the stories of the fairies, and those stories played a huge part in the plot of this book, as I was already anticipating by the title of the book, The Compendium of Lost Tales. The final scene in this book is so serene and just like peaceful and calm, and I had a great time. I truly did. This book for sure is my favorite out of the three. And that being said, this is the conclusion and the end of today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know if you have read this series, if you want to read it, or if you're just in the middle of it and you're waiting to read the second or the third books. I would like to know that. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps me out a lot. And yeah, I guess I'll see you soon in a new video here on the channel. Bye everyone.